Welcome back guys to a new Cyberpunk video and to the new best early game build you can make after update 2.0. No matter if you want to play with pistols in a stealthy way, no matter if you want to prefer rifles or if you want to play with katana, this build will cover all your needs. It will carry you through the entire story and you can make it as early as on level 15. For this build I've tested a lot of the available early game weapons to make sure this build is completely viable even if you want to play on very hard in your first or even in your second or 11th playthrough. It is still possible to play completely stealthy if you want to, even after update 2.0, you just need the perfect weapons and combinations to do so. Fighting max stack on very hard on level 15 would be a bit too far-fetched, but be sure you can fend off the police more than enough on that level. Especially if you struggle to make a build early on after update 2.0, this build will make it incredibly fun to play the game for you. I've also added auto healing to this build so you don't have to worry about dying at any point, even if you play on the highest difficulty, so you can really focus on the gameplay and on playing this game. All the weapons and items I've used for this build can be found during the early game missions in Watson and Northside, however it is actually needed to beat the Heist mission to get this build done. And since we don't have access to the DLC at this level anyway, there's of course no DLC stuff included, so you can totally make this only with base game items, with base game stuff and just enjoy the base game, even though I would encourage you to get the DLC because it unlocks so much crazy stuff on later levels for a later build. To get enough money and crafting material to afford all the items needed for this build and to upgrade all of them to at least rare quality, you can use certain tricks which are still all working in the game as of patch 2.01. One of these tricks involves going to one specific junk shop in downtown which is located near the Sunset and Market fast travel point. Some of these tricks may be patched in future updates, so make sure to use them as long as possible. When you arrive at this junk shop, you will see that you can buy junk of rare and even of legendary quality, which is actually great because you can simply duplicate these items to get thousands of junk items of rare quality. Rare junk items are especially great because you can not only get money from selling them, but you can also get rare crafting materials when you dismantle them. So you simply buy the cheapest rare junk item you can find and then go to the next drop box to duplicate it. We will use the same duplication method as for the other junk items. Go to the junk item tab and then hold down the sell all junk button, which is RS or R3 on consoles, or simply hold the G key on PC and then press the regular sell button, which is A on Xbox, X on PlayStation, or simply the left click on the item on PC. And when you then reduce the amount you want to sell by one item so that you don't sell the entire stack, you will actually prompt another sell menu which will sell all the stack again, doubling it on the other side. Then you simply buy back the items and you will realize that you only have to pay for half of these items, so you get the other half for free. Repeat this process until you have thousands of rare items, and then you can decide whether you want to sell these items to get more money or if you want to keep a few and just dismantle them to get more crafting materials. I decided to sell half of it and dismantle the other half, just keeping a few items for myself so that I can always repeat this process if I need more crafting materials or more money. This trick will allow you to get the needed money and all the needed upgrade materials to upgrade all your items and weapons to rare quality, even very early on. There's a whole video only explaining this glitch in very extreme detail, so if you are having trouble to execute this, make sure to check it out as well. And now you can go to the crafting tab and select the weapons you want to upgrade. You can upgrade them all the way to tier 3 plus with only rare components. If you manage to get epic components, of course you can upgrade them further. And of course also don't forget to upgrade all your cyberware, that will also boost and increase certain stats on them. There's also an incredibly easy way to get more perk points, especially when you are low level, you might not have enough to get all the needed abilities. This trick can be done in reflex, tech or intelligence very early on. You only need level 9 intelligence, level 9 reflex or level 9 tech. In order to do that in reflex, you first spend your points on ready, rested, reloaded, and then you spend your points on slippery and then on dash. And then you simply remove the points in the same order. First you remove on ready, rested, reloaded, then you remove your points on dash and then on slippery. Whenever you remove your points on dash, you will actually get an extra point. And this only works when you add and remove the points in this specific order. First spend your points on ready, rested, reloaded, spend your points on slippery, then go for dash, and then again remove the points on ready, rested, reloaded, remove the points from dash, you will get an extra point from dash, and then remove the points from slippery. Every time you do this, you will get an extra point. We started with 16 and we now have already 18 points. You can of course also do that in the tech tree and also in the intelligence tree, just follow the instructions shown on the screen. If you're having trouble with this, you can check out the separate video I made for this trick. You can of course play this build as you want to, but I found the most satisfying way to play this is actually trying to go for the stealthy approach by killing as much enemies without getting detected in all those locations. And if things go wrong, you can still switch to the Fenrir and clean the rest of the location. The Fenrir was extremely buffed by having electro damage and a pretty high shock chance that will inevitably electrocute all your enemies at one point. And if you want to go more the shinobi style, of course you can simply pull out your katana, activate Thundervistan and simply kill and massacre everyone. Which works especially great when you have flash and thunderclap, so you can simply hold your attack button and leap forward to your enemies, mostly killing them in a single strike, and if that doesn't work, then simply apply a finisher after it. But now let's finally check out the build, guys. The most potential pistol you can find during your early game is probably the Death and Taxes. You can find this weapon in Maiko's office when you do the X Factor mission. For the scopes, I actually don't have any particular preference. You can of course get a Kanatsugu optics if you can, and then go for a CS1 Taipan. That is probably the best early game silencer. It gives you a lot of stealth damage and has only a moderate normal damage reduction. But once you unlock the XC Strix silencer, definitely use an XC Strix. A pretty good alternative before you get to Death and Taxes is Lachinga Gurada, which is basically the same weapon class, but it only shoots one bullet instead of two bullets, so it only deals half the damage than the Death and Taxes. Lachinga Gurada can be collected during the Heroes mission, which you get from Mama Wells. Another good alternative would be the Kongu. It has 150% headshot damage, but it deals even less damage than Lachinga Gurada. You can of course also go for the X-Mod 2 Lexington, which you get from Shoot to Thrill from Wilson. However, all of these alternatives don't deal enough damage to make sure to kill your enemy in a single strike on very hard. They actually may work on hard or lower difficulties, but the Death and Taxes is the only viable early game pistol for stealth gameplay on very hard. The Fenrir is one of the most insane SMGs after update 2.0. It now deals electric damage and has a shock chance, which is absolutely insane. You can collect this weapon either during the Sacrum Profanum quest or at any time from this location in Northside. I would recommend to put a handyman scope on it because it also shows you the ammo count in the center of your screen. The Scalpel is an incredibly great katana and probably the best katana in the game if you want to play with Thundervistan. You can find this weapon during the gig Big in Japan. It gives you 50% crit chance whenever you activate Thundervistan, which will easily be 100% during mid or late game. For our Cyberware, we will use the Dynala Thundervistan. That is the best Thundervistan you have access to early on. However, you should exchange it to the Falcon Thundervistan, which you can activate at any time once you have access to it. For the healing item, we will use a Blood Pump, so you will never have to worry about your health and you will auto heal yourself every time. Regarding the Cyberware, of course, we are a lot more limited on lower levels since we only have around 79 capacity right now. Of course, if you manage to do the capacity shot glitch even early on, you might have a lot more. But I want this to be a legit build that everybody can make and enjoy even after those glitches got fixed. At level 15 we don't have the skeleton and we would even not be able to afford it, so we will go for the bionic joints to increase our armor, and in the nervous system we'll go for the synaptics accelerator and the reflex tuner. If you're not planning to go stealth, you could also swap out the synaptics accelerator and add more armor with the titanium bones instead. But since we already have a ton of armor, I would actually rather recommend to go for the Synaptics Accelerator. In the integumentary system, we will also go for subdermal armor to give us a big armor boost, and of course for our operating system we will go for the Dynala Thundervistan. That is currently the best Thundervistan you can get at level 15. Once you unlock the Falcon Thundervistan and the Apogee Thundervistan, of course immediately swap to the Falcon Thundervistan and to the Apogee Thundervistan later on. For the eyewear, you simply pick the cheapest one, basically for one capacity, and one of the most important items, especially if you play on higher difficulty in combination with Biomonitor, is the Blood Pump. When you have these two items equipped, you will no longer have to worry about any healing items, they will simply be used automatically, which is a real lifesaver because you can simply focus on your combat and on your gameplay. And of course, don't forget the tendons for your double jump. You don't really have to worry about the additional stats since you will likely exchange your Cyberware later on anyway, but health and health item recharge speed is always good. For the early game build in 2.0, I would actually recommend you have a decent amount of reflex, especially if you want to play with blades. You should go for reflex 15 and go for at least tech 9, since tech is one of the most important things to increase your Cyberware capacity. For For body, we will only go for body 4 to pick up all the basic stuff here at the bottom for your health regeneration, the mitigation chance. Later on in the game, you should definitely go for body 15 to get the adrenaline rush. Adrenaline is extremely useful since it adds an additional health shield over your normal health. We have a lot more going on in reflex, and especially if you want to play with blades, you should go for flash and thunderclap. That will make you leap forward and heavily hit your enemies. And maxing out the finishers should also be one of your priority. We will pick up slippery at the bottom, then we will go for dash. On the other side we will go for lead and steal and everything that leads us to flash and thunderclap. You can of course go for the bullet deflection if you want to, but if you don't have enough points you can also skip those abilities. It is more important to get the finishers and max out your finisher abilities. If you like to use air dash, of course you can also put a couple of points into air dash even early on. In tech, of course, we'll go for all things cyber, renaissance punk, and also the driver update to get the additional perks under every cyberware. Under cool, we basically only go for fill-in footwork and the killer instinct perk for increased stealth damage. In this configuration, you may actually need a couple more points using the points duplication trick, or you simply wait a few more levels to get them legitimately. So I hope this video was helpful and you are now prepared for your next or even your first playthrough. If you liked this video, please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like and see you next time.